Good day to everybody. This is Rob Mazak, Psychic Medium. Once again with lots of really interesting and cool services. But I wanted to kind of take a moment and talk about some things that I was listening to today. And really kind of struck me a little different than normal. Even though I've heard many of these things before, sometimes when you hear things just the right way, with just the right person, at just the right moment, they mean a whole lot more than other times you've heard them. So I was listening to a very popular preacher, which we will keep his name out of it just for, legal reasons and all. But he was talking today about, in one of the videos I was watching, he was talking about timing. And it probably came at the exact right time, no pun intended for me, because I am finding myself in my particular business in this place of very quiet times, if you will, and in the case like that, it really doubt starts to creep in. It's like, am I really doing what I should be doing? And is this really the mission? Am I supposed to continue doing what I'm doing? We still got to eat. All that fun kind of things really start to invade your space and your mind. And, we're human. Doesn't matter what you do for a living. Even if you do, woo stuff like me, there's still doubt because we're all wired like humans. And, he gave an example that really kind of made it all make sense to me. And he's like, let's take baseball, for example, he says. And if you have a batter up on home plate waiting on a pitch, he could be the best baseball batter in the league, in all, the entire baseball league. All the right form, massive power, just really, really good at connecting with the ball. But if he doesn't utilize that properly and swings at a time when the ball is not meeting the home plate where he needs to connect with it, then he's really just wasting energy. And it really kind of struck me. It's like, just because we have all the right tools and all the right messages and all the right whatever, that assistance or help or specific particular skill set doesn't necessarily meet the needs right now, and there'll be a time when it'll all make sense for you. And I really took that to heart. I mean, he even brought up an example of like Kentucky Fried Chicken, where Colonel Sanders created the right thing at the right time when the need was most important. He filled a gap. He said, in our times now, trying to start a chicken restaurant, there's a lot more questions. Do you have vegan chicken? Do you have, you get my point. It was the right time, right place, and it just clicked. And so, but also in that paradigm, he was talking about the fact that just because we feel like we're in a place where nothing's happening, even though we're developing our skill set, we're becoming a better baseball player or a better psychic or a better medium or a better engineer or whatever it is, perhaps what we are meant to do in this world, to help this world, is just not come to fruition yet. And that's where it really gets difficult, I think. It is very difficult to stay the course when you know what you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I think I said that twice. But and you're very good at it. You continue to sharpen your skills. But it's almost like sowing a harvest, or planting seeds, for example. And just because you plant a seed in the ground doesn't mean that it's going to sprout the next day or the next week or the next month. Sometimes you have to continue to cultivate that seed, continue to pay attention to it, really pour your time into it in the dark space, and when nobody's watching, nobody's looking, nothing's really happening, so it would seem. However, in that example, we really have to build the roots down, solidify who we are, what we're doing, and the reasons we're doing them before the bloom or the flower or the plant comes up above the surface, where then people begin to recognize who you are and what you do, and you can make an impact in this world. But without doing that work, you won't have any solid foundation, and what you do is like building a house on the sand. It's not going to last long. So we really do need to continue to build the roots. And once again, that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, am I really making an impact? And am I really paying attention to the seeds that I'm sowing? And am I doing the right things? And, I think this was just validation for me that, sometimes we just simply have to wait. Sometimes we have to wait. And the other example he gave that really I never thought about it this way was if you plant a crop of wheat. The funny thing is that weeds will grow alongside that wheat. Where the weeds come from, who knows, right? But the thing is, this is what he said that really was different for me from other times hearing about the paradigm of a crop or a gift surrounded by weeds, right? He said that the thing is, if we spend our time paying attention to the weeds and go on our own to try to pull those weeds, the problem is that there's kind of twofold. One is you're spending a lot of time on something that's really not going to matter because the weeds are going to continue to grow. And if you're not putting any energy into your crop, once again, you're spending valuable time that's not valuable. And the other thing that really really hit me is that he said that if you go and try to pull the weeds out from a wheat crop, for example, the roots below the surface, they're all entwined. The weeds and the wheat, they're both there, all mixed up together. So if you go and pull the weeds, you might disrupt the root system of your crop, in this case, the wheat. And that really, I've never heard that before. And, I've been around for a little while, 62 now, and, it makes a lot of sense. Why are we spending our energy on things that don't really matter? Those thoughts of doubt, those thoughts of lack, those thoughts of not being able to be successful because nobody else in my family has, or whatever. The thing is that if we continue to cultivate what we've planted, we will still reap a harvest. And after the harvest is done, then we can remove our distractions. Now, I'm not saying we need to ignore our problems. I'm not saying that at all, because I get that, but it just totally hit me like a brick. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like the mentality I heard a while back. I think I heard this from one of my children, was that sometimes we simply have to grow the roses so big and so robust that the weeds don't even show up, or they're not even visible, and perhaps even get choked out. And I'm like, this is kind of the same mentality. And so, once again, why are we allowing others? You could equate the weeds to those people in your life that are negative, those people, those things that are happening in life that you really can't do anything about. There's a lot of things going on in the world that, frankly, we are not going to be able to stop or change. And so why are we focusing on them? Why are we wasting our energy on things that really are not going to develop our crop? And I talk about this in energy work a lot. Let's just say hypothetically you wake up every morning with 100 units of energy to use every day to run everything about you, 24-hour period, right? And so now that includes running your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body, all of that, right? And so the thing is, if we spend a lot of time on things that are frivolous and meaningless, and worrying about things that haven't happened yet, or worrying about things that people are doing to us, for example, or whatever, the problem is then that you take away from your mental part of your battery, and then you don't have enough left to run your physical body and your meat suit. And then guess what? There you go. Medical issues begin to happen because your body can't fuel itself, right? And so I think this whole conversation, obviously it's unscripted. I don't really write things down, but it really is about managing who you are and what you are called to do. And if you know you're called to do something, then do it to the best of your ability, and leave the distractions alone, because they're always going to be there. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter as long as we're in a reality like we are now, whatever this is. We can debate that all day long, but there will always be distractions. There will always be people in our lives that just seem to be there to destroy it, if you will, right? But we should not allow those things to distract us and pull us off course. And don't get me wrong, we're going to be human. It's going to happen. But I think the key is being able to recognize when you're being stupid, when you're allowing these things in. And I think that's the best part of doing a personal journey, at least for me, is I put a lot of time into this, especially it was about 7 years ago or so. And I still have to do maintenance, and we're not an island. Everybody needs help from other people. I mean, we can't always help others and forget about ourselves, right? Of course, right? And so, but we have to, but once you learn about yourself and what kind of things you are falling into and what kind of things need to be changed, when they start happening, you will then begin to notice and know that you're doing that. So, like I tell a lot of people, I can no longer say I didn't know I was being stupid. I can no longer say that I am dwelling on things that I shouldn't without even noticing it, because I know now, right? And so once you put on those metaphysical glasses, if you will, you can never take them off again. And so if you're going to go into self-development and really hone in on your mission and become what you're supposed to be in this world, the timing will be right. The situations will become right. But, you must also plant the seeds, because you can put a seed on the counter in your kitchen and leave it there for 3 years, for example. And guess what? That seed's not going to do anything until you plant it in the ground. You water it, you pay attention to it, you groom it, you cut it back when it needs, all that, right? A seed must be planted. And then once you plant it, you have to nourish it. You have to pay attention to it and make sure that it's safe, right? Don't ever let anybody steal your thunder. Don't let anybody steal your dream. Whatever that is, it doesn't matter. It could be the smallest thing to the biggest thing. Anyway, I just wanted to kind of ad hoc give a message out today, because, that really hit home with me today. And it was, as far as timing goes, it was the absolute right message that I needed to hear right now, because the struggle is real, people. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, how good your business is, you will have downturns, you'll have upturns, and you just have to learn to stay the course, right? So anyway, I encourage you guys to plant your seed, water your seed, nourish your seed, ignore the weeds, and drive on. Anyway, y'all have a great day. Namaste. Stay strong and live your life.